Okay, so get this. A misplaced purse in Target sparks a nationwide wave of generosity. We're talking about the hashtag she deserved the purse trend, and we're really going to unpack this one. Why did this story go viral? What does it say about, I don't know, like being a mom today? We're diving deep.
It's interesting, right? Because you'd think a lost purse, it's not exactly uncommon, but this one hit a nerve.
Totally. So it all starts with Denisha Gonzalez. She's in Target, baby aisle, and spots a purse that someone left behind.
And her reaction is so telling, right? It wasn't just, oh, someone's having a rough day. It was this deep empathy, like she'd been there.
Exactly. And she even said, quote, I found myself several times wishing I could get something but couldn't. I've gone through seasons of lack where we could only afford just the essential things.
And boom, that resonated with millions of moms, I think, because it touches on this, like, pressure point in society, you know?
This whole idea that mothers should be selfless,
Hmm.
to the point of like never buying themselves anything nice.
Yeah, and it's not just about the wants, right?
Yeah.
It's deeper. It's this societal expectation that moms come last.
Yeah.
And any deviation from that is
Yeah.
suspect.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's like you can't even buy yourself a coffee without feeling guilty.
And this is where, unfortunately, those societal pressures collide with, let's be honest, often really tough financial realities. For lots of moms, that self-care stuff, it's not just put on the back burner. It's like it's not even an option.
Right, it's a luxury they can't afford. So we have Gonzalez's experience, which clearly struck a chord, but then enter influencer Cecily Bauchman.
Ah, yes, Cecily. This is where social media comes in.
So Cecily sees the video and decides, you know what? I'm going to pay it forward. Leaves a $100 Target gift card in a purse with a note saying, you deserve that special you thing. You are amazing. And that's when this thing explodes.
And it really highlights that double-edged sword of social media, right? Because on one hand,
It gets blamed for all this pressure, like to have the perfect life, the perfect kids, the spotless house, all while being a super mom who also, meditates and bakes sourdough. It's impossible.
exactly, unrealistic expectations galore. But then, on the other hand, you have this incredible capacity for support, for connection.
Right.
And in this case, it created a platform for, I think, a very specific type of empathy.
And action.
Right.
Because it didn't stop at purses. People started putting gift cards in diaper boxes, formula, like strategically placing them where a struggling parent would find them.
Which adds this whole other layer, don't you think? It's like this unspoken acknowledgement of just how expensive it is to have kids, especially these days.
Which we don't talk about enough, like at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here it is, playing out on social media.
So let's talk about the impact, because I was reading some of the comments from the moms who found these gifts, and wow. One woman wrote, and I'm quoting this directly because it just got to me, I haven't had my hair done in years, my nails done in years, my clothes come from Walmart, we can't afford childcare. But my babies have what they need. One day I'll have the purse, just not today.
Oh, wow. You know, that rawness, that honesty, it's what made this whole thing so powerful. It resonated because it was real. It laid bare the invisible sacrifices so many moms make every single day.
And it showed this deep need for just like recognition, a break from constantly having to be the strong one.
Yes. And I think it also speaks to this idea that self-care, especially for moms, it's often seen as this luxury or even worse, selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So even a small act of kindness, even from a stranger, it becomes validation.
Permission to acknowledge your own needs without the guilt trip.
Exactly. And that permission, that validation, coming from a community that gets it, that understands, it's huge.
And we saw tons of comments like that. As a mom who puts stuff back all the time to get stuff for my babies, this made me tear up. Or, I was a struggling mom of 4. I'm in a better position to pay it forward now, doing this Thursday on my day off. This wasn't just about the money, right? It went beyond that.
Absolutely. It was about being seen, about human connection in, let's be honest, a world that often feels very isolating, especially for new parents.
It's like this wave of support, right? Starting online, but then I was reading about how this whole thing spilled over into the real world, too.
Well, absolutely. It became more than just like a hashtag. People were actually going out of their way to help each other, like Danielle Stanley.
Danielle's story just gets me every time. She decided to find a mom to help, like intentionally went to Walmart with that purpose.
And the way she described it in the article, she was looking for someone who reminded her of herself back when she was struggling as a young mom.
And she found her right, like actually found a mom in the baby aisle who was clearly having a hard time.
Having to make those impossible choices. Do I get diapers or formula this week?
Yeah.
Ugh,
The worst. And so Danielle walks up to her in the aisle with a $100 gift card.
Can you imagine? just completely out of the blue.
I know, the mom was just speechless. The article said her response was literally, seriously, seriously. Like, I'm getting choked up just thinking about it.
I know, it's like this reminder that even when you feel completely alone, there's still good in the world. That even a small act of kindness can make a huge difference.
Totally. And it's about restoring a little bit of faith, right? In humanity, maybe even in yourself when you're the one giving.
100%. And think about Danielle's story. It got shared online, of course, and it inspired others to do the same. It's like it created this ripple effect of generosity.
Which is pretty amazing when you think about it. This whole conversation started with a misplaced purse.
I know. It's wild. It's like this weird paradox. We're talking about something that was sparked by hardship, by those real struggles that moms face. But at the same time, it brought out so much good.
And maybe that's what's so compelling about this whole thing. That even though, yeah, the world can be a tough place, we still crave that connection.
That empathy, that sense that we're not alone,
Mhm.
which is funny because theoretically we're more connected than ever, right? With
Yeah.
social media and everything.
It's true. It's like we're surrounded by people online, but still, we're all craving these genuine, relatable experiences in real life.
And it's interesting because while this whole trend showed the positive side of social media, how it can be used to connect and support people, let's not forget that it also played a role and created the very environment that made this resonate so deeply in the first place.
That's a really good point. It's like we're drawn to these stories because they offer a sense of relief from the constant pressure we see online, the pressure to be perfect, to have it all figured out.
Exactly. Because let's be real, social media often feels like this highlight reel, right?
Mhm.
Everyone's showing their best selves, their best moments, which makes it easy to feel like you're the only one struggling.
And then you see a story like Denisha Gonzalez's or Danielle Stanley's, and it's like, oh, wait, I'm not alone in this. It's permission to be human, flaws and all.
Yes, and I think that's why this trend is so interesting. It represents a pushback against that curated perfection, that pressure to conform to this impossible standard of like flawless motherhood.
It's like a breath of fresh air, a reminder that it's okay to not be okay, and that it's in those messy, complicated, real moments that we often find the most connection with each other.
100%. It's like this collective exhale, this reclaiming of the truth. Parenthood is hard. Life is hard. And pretending otherwise doesn't help anyone.
Right, and it's when we start showing up authentically, showing our struggles and our triumphs, that we create space for genuine connection, both online and off. It's like we forget that it's okay to not have it all figured out, you know?
Which is, like you say, kind of ironic. We're the most connected generation in history, but also maybe the loneliest.
Totally. And I wonder, like, how much of this is driven by, I don't know, the algorithms. Like, marketers know we're craving these feel-good stories.
Oh, absolutely. Social media thrives on emotional responses. And this story, vulnerability, generosity, relatable struggle, that's a recipe for going viral.
Which then feeds the algorithm even more. It's like this loop. The more we engage, the more we see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not always a bad thing, like we've been talking about. This trend did a lot of good,
Okay.
right? But it also makes you think, like, how much of my feed is actually just, like, someone else's marketing strategy?
Right. Like, am I actually connecting with this or am I just being manipulated?
Which is a bit of a scary thought when you really think about it. But it highlights the importance of, I think, being a conscious consumer.
Totally. Being aware of what you're seeing online, why you're seeing it, and how it makes you feel.
Yes. It's easy to get swept up in the feel-good moments, but taking a step back, questioning things, it's so important.
Yeah.
Because social media, it's a tool, right?
Yeah.
And like any tool, it could be used for good or bad.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into this whole hashtag she deserved the purse thing, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think first and foremost, it's a reminder that behind those perfectly curated online personas, there are real people with real struggles and real triumphs. We're all in this together, even when it doesn't feel like it.
And that sometimes just acknowledging someone's struggle, offering kind word, it can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. And finally, I think this whole thing just shows the incredible power of human connection. Even small acts of generosity can have a ripple effect.
So the next time you see someone struggling, whether it's online or, in the cereal aisle at Target,
Offer a smile, lend a hand. You never know, you might just spark a movement.
could I said it better myself? That's it for this deep dive, everyone. Thanks for listening.